Raycon.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Dawg Talk podcast. I'm your host, Harris Marino. Alongside me, co-host. I knew that was going to happen, and it did it. It's did it on the other shows. The microphone's back to being weird. To adjust to that as the night goes on. You just had to step away for a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, it is game week. Finally, it's been... God, it's felt like a year since Georgia's played football, and they finally do it again back in Sanford Stadium on Saturday, 3:30 kickoff versus Marshall. Dan, how are you doing on this wonderful Wednesday evening?
I'm doing very well. I am ready to get going. It is game week. I'm excited that we actually have football that counts.
Kobe, how's it going, man?
Good, man. Just enjoying a little Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening in Athens. Woke up this morning, past couple of mornings. It's been nice, good, full fall football weather in the 60s in the morning. Kind of feels good for August going into September, but there's a buzz in the air. They're painting the fields. You know, we're about to tee it up between the hedges for the first time of the year, so I'm excited. The weather will not deter me from being excited about Saturday.
Everyone's excited about Saturday because it's not going to be 90, or I don't know if it's going to be 90 degrees. It might be 90 degrees, but it won't be hot as all get out there at Sanford Stadium. Gentlemen, news of the day so far. Block lettering in the end zone is back. Bulldog Bold is officially just gone, done with, not in the numbers, not in the end zones, not on the jerseys. I guess first off, how do we feel about that?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I don't know what the new one looks like, so I don't know.
Gotcha.
I mean, if they think it looks good, then I'm with them.
Yeah, I think if you're, I think people are on one side or the other. Like, they either believe that, block letters are the only way, block numbers are the only way the jerseys and script should ever look. Now, I will say that I think that the jerseys, the numbers definitely look better. The end zone, while it looked good, I'll be interested. I won't give like a full final say until it's done. Like, I know it's not 100% done today. I think some people were talking about some spacing, some different things. I'm still just a big fan of, like, obviously I know you couldn't do it every game of the year because it would kill the grass and some different things, but I would love if we would occasionally paint the end zones, like color in the green a little bit around it. But I'm excited, something different, something new for this season. What's not to love? You know what I'm saying? It's not like we're going to get to wear a different colored jersey, so might as well be excited about what the end zones look like.
Hey, grass looks good. Grass looks freaking great.
Hey, it's almost ready for football season. With that being said, we are almost ready for football season. Gentlemen, before the show, I put together Too Deep for this, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of debate. Kirby Smart's not going to give us a Too Deep depth chart. So I was like, well, everyone else is like releasing theirs. Pretty much every other school in the SEC has released their Too Deep depth chart. So I said, why not? Tonight, as we preview this game versus Marshall, I will put one together and we will talk it through. This is just based on kind of how things have gone throughout the offseason, and you can kind of put two and two together in terms of how the press conferences go as well, what they talk about, who they talk about, who has made the 2D depth chart. So this is just our predictions. This is no official depth chart. If we are wrong, we don't want the blame, but if we are right, we want all the credit. Remember that. So we will unveil first just the starting offense with the skill players. Now, I know because I showed this pre-show, and Kobe pointed it out within like 2.4 seconds. The running backs are 4 deep here because I think, and we'll start there. Running backs is the one position on this team that I am unsure about in terms of the order. I know Nate Frazier's number 1, but after Nate Frazier, I have no clue. And it might depend on the situation, because if it's a passing down, it might be Cash Jones. But if it's any other down, regular down, It might be Roderick Robinson. It might be Josh McCray. It might be Dwight Phillips. It might be Chauncey Bowens. But for the sake of this, I listed them in the order of, okay, Nate's going to be in there, maybe first few plays. They're going to give him a blow. Roger Robinson's going to come in. Then you're going to Josh McCray. And then, hey, I put him at number 4 because, like Jordan Hall said on the other night, he's the pass down guy. It's Cass Jones. I think that's just right now to start the year. It kind of goes along the trend of seniority in this group with how Kirby Smart decides these position battles. I think Roger Robinson's going to get the nod as the number 2 back to start the year.
Wasn't Josh McCray the starting running back at the University of Illinois?
He was.
Yeah. So I don't know that he would necessarily come into a position where he's not going to get carries and be buried in the depth chart. So, but we haven't really had a chance to see him.
Yeah.
So I don't know what his situation is health-wise or otherwise. Maybe he's having a hard time picking up. I don't know. Maybe he's fantastic. We just don't know anything. But my initial gut reaction when I see that is that, like, I would think that McCray would be 2, but I don't know. Kobe?
I don't want to speak on that a lot. I will say that I think Josh McCray probably, in all actuality, is a little bit lower than 3 on that depth chart.
Oh wow!
But that would be just one man's take on a depth chart, not an official one, not anything. But I would be surprised if he is that high come game day Saturday.
So he's been less than impressive, is what I'm gathering.
It also it's not helpful that he's been out with he was out with an illness for, I believe, almost close to the first full week of practice. So he's a little bit behind. I mean, he's already behind, having coming in the summer. But yeah, I just gave him kind of more of like, hey, he started somewhere else. Like, I'm gonna put him at 3. But then again, in terms of kind of, we've talked about on this show numerous times, when it's a new guy, a new to the program guy versus a guy who's been here for a few years, usually we've seen the guy who's been here for a few years get the nod at first to get that first try.
I think
which is why I have Roger is.
I think the great thing about running back is you're going to see a bunch of them. So you have an opportunity to prove it on the field. Like, you may not have been at practice. You may not have had good practices. You may have struggled. But when the lights turn on and you get the football in a game that counts and you make a play, you can improve your stock. So I think you're probably right with your post there.
And what makes it, I guess, even better is, like, when we look at this position from this year to last year, is I think this room's a little bit deeper. Obviously, coming into the year, they were already down. Trevor Etienne was suspended for the first game. I want to say Roger Robinson was hurt for the first few games of the year. And I think Chauncey Bowens was even dealing with an injury early in the year. All those guys are back, and all those guys are healthy right now, which is something Georgia has not had in its running back room in quite a little bit heading into a season. So that's good news in itself. Now, here's, I think, the position that everybody's going to get excited about. We're going to go to receivers next. We'll start here at the X receiver role. Well, actually, I'll give you the X. So I got Colby Young, number 1 at X. I got Zachariah Branch in the slot. And then this is where it gets interesting. At the Z, the guy opposite on the outside of Colby Young is Noah Thomas. Now, obviously, I have Dylan Bell slotted in behind him. Receivers, it's hard because, as you two gentlemen know, Georgia rotates at receiver quite a bit, as it just messes it up quite a bit. So it's always difficult to know exactly who's in the rotation, or everyone knows who's in the rotation. We just don't know what order. But I mean, I almost feel like Colby and Noah are interchangeable here. I could see it either way, but I just think Noah's a little bit more agile as a receiver, which I think makes him maybe a little bit more of a fit at Z than Colby at the X. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think you'll get in there on Saturday and they'll do the traditional, like, they'll announce 4 starting receivers. And I think it'll be somewhere in the fact of Colby, Noah, Zach, and Dylan as your starting receivers. I think that part is very true. And I like London Humphreys up there. As a guy that we heard a lot about, had a big freshman year at Vanderbilt, had a lot of expectations coming into last year. And I'm excited to see. He's probably the wing guy flying under the radar the most, with as much excitement on Taylon Taylor and CJ Wiley. I think London Humphreys could, if he has a just an above average year, a year that gets you 550, 600 yards. He could put himself in a really good position in a hurry. So I like that for the receivers. It's a good depth chart. I think that you have a mixture of the skill and a little bit of the people that have been here, like you're kind of sticking with.
I like the fact that we're going to have some size on the outside with Thomas and Young. That gives us something that we haven't had a lot of here recently. I think everybody's excited to see Zachariah Branch, and I think he has an opportunity to be really, really good. But between Young and Thomas, those are the two guys with that receiver group that I can't wait to see where they slot in, how they factor into this offense, how we're going to use them, how we're going to deploy them. It's great. And, we've mentioned it a couple different times that this wide receiver room is one that's shaping up to be, if not, you asked the question a couple of weeks ago, is this the best wide receiver room? And I said that I thought it was the most interesting. And I think we're going to get our first look, and we're going to be able to start putting those pieces together and see what it actually looks like on a game day. But there's a lot of really good choices, and I like your choice of London Humphreys too. I think that you're 100% right. He's the Cash Jones of the receivers, completely overlooked, and has an opportunity to be really good.
I wanted to ask you all a question. I put this in here in the notes in terms of when we were doing this depth chart. It was Josh Pate, I believe it was just 2 weeks ago, and he was doing his preview for Georgia this season. He had a quote in his preview talking about this new receiver group. He said, and I quote, "That receiver room might be the alpha room for Georgia this year." When you look at that depth chart, and I know it's just 2 guys at each position, is this room an alpha group for Georgia in this offense? Do you look at the receivers and say, this is an unquestioned strength?
I think if they're able to catch the ball properly, then yes. I think that's going to be the thought in the back of every – that's the thought in the back of every fan's minds over the last 2 seasons, especially last season, but, a little bit in the past 2 seasons of, when the moment's there, when the play is drawn up. And I think Coach Bobo gets a lot of unfair, rulings on things because receivers are open, passes are put on, in a range that maybe they're not all catchable, but some of them, and it just seems like a lot of times we're not coming down with those passes. I think you have a Noah, Colby, a Zach, even a London that is going up and catching maybe just occasionally a ball they're not supposed to, then this receiver room could be one of the more special. I mean, I think what made George Pickens and A.D. Mitchell, they caught the balls that were supposed to be caught, and then every once in a while they caught a ball that had no business being a catch.
I like the tight end room too. I think there's a lot of potential. We haven't gotten to the tight ends yet, but the first two that you listed with Lawson and Delp are pretty much known quantities at this point. We kind of know what we're going to get out of them, and they're very productive. But the 2 freshmen between Barbour and Elias Williams, Elias Williams could be kind of crazy, and I don't know what to expect really, because I've heard some stuff, but until you see it with your own 2 eyes, it's very hard to put your foot down and say for certain. But I think the tight end room can be pretty productive. I mean, obviously it's hard to say that they're going to be as productive as somebody like Brock Bowers. I mean, that's kind of silly to go that far. But I still think it could be a very productive room.
Well, I think
Go ahead,
I think you can go like the everybody's favorite baseball movie, the Moneyball effect. Like, I don't need one of you to be Brock Bowers, but I need 4 of you to be Brock Bowers. I need the 4 of you together to be able to block and be able to catch the ball and get open when I need you to get open. I don't need any one of you to be the hero. I need you all to be serviceable at an above average rate.
I think what makes this offense interesting, specifically the tight end room, is I think we're going to have the conversation with another group on defense, like where with tight ends, it's like, okay, you have all these guys who can probably go start and play right now elsewhere. So how do you get these guys all on the field enough and to let them flourish in this offense without, taking away opportunities from other guys who also deserve it, like your receivers? Because the receiver room's deeper than just the 2 deep we listed at each of those 3 spots. Like, I don't think we have a Talon Taylor on this 2 deep. I don't think we have a Thomas Blackshear London Humphreys made the cut at slot, but I think he could play at the Z spot. Dylan Bell, I think just slotting him in one spot at receiver doesn't do him justice because he's a guy at his best that gets moved around. I mean, heck, he might even be in the backfield at times this year. So, and I think with the tight ends, that's what's going to make this year interesting. Is you talk about Elias Williams, you talk about Ethan Barbour, those guys are probably going to be lined up all throughout this offense, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how creative they can get with these guys. All right. Before we move on to the defense, because we do have the defense still to get to, we will unveil the offensive line, which for the first time since 2017, Dan, and Kobe was on this team, we are projecting that a true freshman will be the starter at an offensive line spot. If you've been paying attention to kind of the buzz on here in terms of the offensive line room, Juan Gaston has been, I think, the I don't want to say superstar because he is a true freshman, and when a true freshman plays well, they're going to get buzz, especially at the offensive line in terms of when you play well with that group and you're in there getting ones reps, it makes the news. It sounds like Juan Gaston is seriously making a running for a spot at right guard, and I mean, shoot, that's been a buzz for what 4 or 5 weeks now that Juan Gaston is in the running for that spot. So it seems like he's going to take one of those spots, which leaves it up to Daniel Calhoun and Michael Unai to battle it out for the spots behind he and Michael Morris. Just immediate reactions to that in terms of Georgia potentially starting a true freshman at right guard.
Hey, if you're good enough, you're good enough. I mean, the end. I understand, and I think we were talking about this in our group chat the other day. I think one of the hardest things to do in the SEC is to start on the offensive line as a true freshman because of the size and the maturity that these guys get. I mean, Kobe, you could speak to this. Just that first semester on a college campus is undefeated. About like how your body changes because like you thought you worked hard in high school, but you didn't. Like your body completely transforms. But now imagine the guy that's got 2 or 3 years of that, right? Of building on top of that. So in my opinion, starting at the offensive line is very hard. But at the same time, if you're good enough, you're good enough. I know last year we had a kid from Mill Creek go up to North Carolina, Aiden Banfield, and start and play every single game at guard at University of North Carolina, and I didn't see that coming. Not because he's not super talented, but I just didn't, I thought that it was going to be difficult to do. So I guess it just comes down to if you're a dog like that, then go for it, baby. I support it.
I would even take it one step farther than that at the University of Georgia at this point. I would say that you're a first-round level talent, and not just to throw that out there, but I mean, I saw a guy in Andrew Thomas step in and be who could have been a left tackle day one as an 18-year-old, 19-year-old freshman. And, 3 years later, he's a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. I would say that at this point, and I haven't seen all the practices, I haven't been there in all the meetings, but for him to be starting at right guard game one as a true freshman, when to me you have 2 games to kind of burn and play with, that's, and that's what just the old player in me with Coach Smart and thinking about Marshall and thinking about Austin Peay, respect the heck out of them, appreciate everything they do for their programs. They're good quality football teams. But in Coach's mind, you do have almost this glorified pair of scrimmages before your season really starts up in Tennessee. If a true freshman jogs out there game one, snap one, I just think that at that point, that's all the confidence in the world from Stacey Searles, from Kirby Smart, from Mike Bobo, that this guy's probably not going anywhere unless, you never know. When the bullets start flying, things change. You can be an All-American at practice on the offseason and fall camp. Things change when the bullets start flying. I mean, I think about our man Dwan Mathis. I mean, there were reports that he could have been the second coming at quarterback in 2020 until we got out to Arkansas with Sam Pittman and the crew, and all of a sudden it looked like he was throwing with his left hand. So I'm excited. It makes me excited. It makes me excited for the level of kids we're continuing to recruit on the offensive line. I think a lot of people were worried, and there have been maybe not flashes of individual talent not working out, but people were worried when Sam Pittman left, what's the offensive line going to look like going forward? So to see a freshman possibly starting is an exciting development.
Yeah, and I think it also, like you said, not just for right now, but also for the future, like you said, because there's only been one, and that's done on Curry Smart, and that guy went on to be a top 5 pick. So you're talking maybe in 3 years' time, Juan Gaston's in that position to go become a first-round pick in a few years. Now, in terms, that was right guard. Left guard, we have Michael Morris. Center, this one's been written in pen, Drew Bubbo, pretty much since the day he stepped in for Jared Wilson and showed out in those 2 games I think he started last year. Still has 100% completion percentage as a passer at Georgia. The only Bobo with that feature, thanks to his fake punt in the SEC championship game. And then at tackle, guys, this is the concerning point for me in terms of Georgia's offensive line. I think Georgia has 4 guys at guard, maybe 5, that can play winning football on the interior. At tackle, Georgia really only has 2 that we know of, and that's Monroe Freeling and Ernest Green. Ernest Green's coming off a year that he's going to want to get back to the level he played as in 23. Monroe Freeling had his moments, also had a struggle. But if either of those 2 guys go down with injuries or suffer injuries like they did last year, you're talking about 2 guys in Jazir Jackson and Bo Hewley who haven't stepped foot into a game in the SEC in a actual game-like setting where you're not playing with a 21-point lead and you're not playing against a team that's pretty much defeated at this point. Like, you're going against somebody when they're giving you their best shot. Like, those guys haven't seen that yet.
Like you're saying, I think the tackle position is always going to be one of those positions in football that, it's hard for you to simulate game type reps at tackle because you've seen the gentleman on the other side of you. You've seen him practice. You know his tendencies. You know his pass rush moves, things like that. So I'm really hopeful that Ernest Green and Monroe Freeling, can stay very healthy and have both play, meaningful snaps going into what I believe maybe is both of their junior years, maybe a redshirt junior year for Ernest. But like you're saying, tackle play, it all starts from the outside, goes from the outside in, right? Like bad tackle play leads to bad guard play, leads to bad just football in general. So got to be able to leave them on the island out there with a good pass rusher.
Well, keep in mind too that most every single edge rusher in the SEC was like a 4 or 5 star in high school. So I mean, so you're asking a lot to be really, really good. I mean, like what was it? Andrew Thomas, the senior, his last year at Georgia gave up no sacks, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so. If you think about it, he's pretty much going up against a 4 or 5 star guy every single game, and to give up 0 sacks, that's pretty incredible. To your point, offensive tackle, it's so hard to play. I've got a lot of respect for the guys who do it really, really well.
That's just the one group, I think, of the offense when you look at it, aside from running back, I think that's the one where you're like, okay, Georgia really can't afford to lose any guys to injuries at that spot, because then you're playing with a guy who's really not played more than maybe a handful of games. Like Jazir Jackson just started playing real competitive football just a few years ago, like when he got to Georgia. This isn't a guy who was playing football from the time he was, 4 or 5 years old, like some of the kids that Dan has coached in youth football all the way and now has seen all the way up till high school into college. Like this is a guy who was playing basketball at a high level, and Georgia saw, hey, you play tackle, and I believe it was in middle school, 8th grade. They're like, hey, you should come to Georgia, and we'll develop you to become a potential NFL tackle. Like that's what we're talking about. And then Bo Hewley. Bo Hewley was a former highly rated recruit, if I remember correctly. Played in the spring game, and I think, if I remember correctly, played well. But again, this isn't a guy who's had a lot of experience. And this is something new for Georgia. I know for other schools, not having an experienced backup offensive tackle isn't really anything new. But for Georgia, there's usually some guys behind the starters that have actually played in these games and have gotten some experience. So it's just going to be something to monitor early in the year, especially in a game like this Saturday where you're going to get those guys reps early on in the year. All right, let's transition over to the defense, because I do think there are questions on this defense that people are having. This is the one where I had to project a little bit more because the offense seems a little easier in terms of some of these spots. Defense, a little more difficult. Here's the defensive line. We'll start with the front seven. I have starters: Joseph Jonah-Ajonye, Kristen Miller, Jordan Hall, and Gabe Harris is your front four. I know it just messed it up. I guess thoughts and reactions to that in terms of those groups. And yes, you see Elijah Griffin, you see Xavier McLeod. I believe these two are pretty much interchangeable. These two, you'll see Elijah Griffin for sure. This one, I assume Gabe Harris can get the nod early, but you're definitely going to see Ella Mendoza.
This one's always hard for me playing under Coach Scott, playing, in that front seven on defense. It's such a weird thing to think about that there's truly like a ones and twos. There's like a one cycle, like a 6 to 8 man one cycle, and then there's like a 6 to 8 man two cycle. So like you're saying, Jordan Hall, Xavier McLeod, I would say are 1A, 1B at nose tackle. I would say that, Christian Miller's had a really good camp. Elijah Griffin's had a really good camp. Like, to me, what you're showing right there, in my opinion, is really, and people are going to find this weird, but like that's the ones defense right there to me. Like, that's not the twos defense at all. Like, that two deep kind of like that is the number one offense for Georgia, just because of rotation schedule, because we're going to have different packages in. We're going to be an under and over. And on third downs, we're going to be in like a dime situation where we're trying to get after the quarterback, and things just kind of reshuffle around so much. I think for that front seven, like, to say that all those guys are going to see significant snaps with the ones defense this week is 100% accurate.
With a guy like Christian Miller, as talented as he is, I wonder how much we're going to get to see Griffin, and if there ever an opportunity for them to be on the field at the same time. I think that is a possibility. They do have a lot of guys up there up front, and like you said, it's one of those position groups where you've got to be deep. If you're not deep, you're not going to be very good. It's very hard to play every single down, in and out. So I'm happy that we have that amount of depth up front, and I'm excited to see all of them. I'm really excited to see Elijah Griffin, because coming in, everything we heard about the guy, and he's lived up to it, and some of the hype coming up from his own teammates talk about how he's been performing at practice. Who was it who said he was going to be Jalen Carter?
Warren Brinson at Pro Day.
Warren Brinson. Yeah, I mean, hype like that kind of makes you tingle a little bit. You're like, what? Okay, I want to see this. So I'm excited about it.
And what's crazy about it is there really hasn't been a freshman defensive lineman other than Jalen Carter who's gotten so much hype as Elijah Griffin at Georgia, like coming in as a freshman. Like, Malachi Starks got a lot of hype as a freshman, but really it wasn't until like right before the Oregon game. I remember we came on here 2 years, or I guess it was 3 years ago at this point, and Dan says, "Yeah, I got Malachi Starks starting." I'm like, "Really? Like, safety?" And I'm like, "You're crazy."
Harrison said, "No shot."
Yeah, and then he goes in the game, makes the pick, and Dan was like, "Told you so." I was like, "Sorry, Dan." Hashtag Dan was right. Yeah,
Dan did his games for 4 years, so like when you watch a guy play for 4 years, you kind of get an inkling of what they can do. And the thing about him in high school, not to sidetrack too much, but the thing about him in high school is he did everything. And when you got a guy who can literally do everything, like, okay, now he's only got to focus on one thing. He's going to be really good at it.
Yeah, defense line's gonna be interesting to watch. I feel great about the interior because you got 4 guys right there in that 2 deep that, like Kobe said, are your ones defense. You're gonna play, I think, a lot of snaps, and they're gonna do very well. It's the edge group where you get like, Gabe Harris, this is his first full-time role. Ella Mendoza, this is his first time at an SEC school playing SEC competition for a full season. You got questions. Joseph Jonah-Ajonye played 5 games last year as a true freshman. Then he got hurt. He was out for the year. Got some questions, but he was a highly recruited kid. You got a true freshman, J.J. Hain. Anytime a true freshman's wearing a blue Guardian cap in practice, got to take note. Got to take note of it. I put him in the 2 deep here. And then Justin Green's another former highly touted recruit that Georgia's had on this roster for a year or two now. That's going to get us a chance. All right, let's move to linebackers because I know we're going a little bit longer here. This is what I got at linebackers. The Sam position is difficult because, as Kobe knows, because Kobe's probably sat in plenty of these defensive meetings, Sam's a little bit different from the Jacks. Sam is more of a rotational role. Like, they're going to pull the Sam backer off the field for the nickel. Right now, I've listed Quintavious Johnson and Chris Jones as the two guys there. I wouldn't be surprised if Quintavious Johnson works himself into more of a full-time role somewhere else later in the year. But I think for now, with those two young players, they're going to be more of a rotational role. And then in terms of linebackers, we don't need to go long here. Honestly, when we go to inside linebackers, you don't talk about CJ Allen and Raylan Wilson because you know what you have. The conversation turns to, what is Georgia going to do with Justin Williams and Chris Cole? Like, how does Georgia find ways to get those guys on the field as much as possible?
Like you're saying, it's an embarrassment of riches in the linebacker room, and that's the hard thing. Like you're saying, with all of those guys, really, how do you rotate them properly? How do you get, the right people in on the right plays and making sure they're doing their job correctly? And again, I will beat a dead horse tonight and probably for the next 2 weeks. It's so nice, so nice that with a team with a lot of questions, a lot of young talent, a lot of unproven talent, you're getting 2 games back-to-back weeks at home that you're going to be able to let some guys get some run. You're going to be able to let 100-plus kids play the next 2 weeks in a row. They're going to be able to see what live snaps look like against a different team. They're going to be able to see all of those things and learn off all those things the rest of the year. Versus in years past, you go play a Clemson where, like, you can only play 75, 80 kids. And then you come home, you maybe get one tune-up game, and then you're right into SEC play. This way you're getting 2 games where you can really kind of start just molding that last little bit of depth, that last little bit of practice, and really kind of see out of these 4 linebackers who's going to be the guy that you're going to lean on the most. Because there's always one guy that is the guy. And then everybody else, you can kind of feed off of it around them. So I'm excited about the linebackers. They're, like you're saying, this defense is built to run through them.
Dan, if you got nothing to add, I'll go ahead and get to your favorite spot because I know we're going to talk about one of your favorite players. We'll go ahead and get to it. Let's talk the corners. Let's talk the secondary. For now, I have, as it messes it up a little bit, here's what I got, Dan, and I know. And I've listed it. I've numbered it differently here in terms of the corners. I think to start the year, to start right now, it's going to be Dalen Everett, Jonel Aguero, and Daniel Harris. Jonel in the star, Dalen and Daniel on the outside. But in terms of the guys behind them, I think Ellis Robinson is the third corner on the field in terms of, hey, when Daniel Harris whenever they rotate, Daniel Harris is coming off, Ellis Robinson's first guy on. Next guy up, it's going to be DeMello Jones. Georgia has 4 guys on the outside I think are going to play this year and are going to play at a high level. It's going to be a question of who gets the majority of the snaps come the end of the year. I don't know. I think everybody's leaning Ellis Robinson right now. But Daniel Harris is the veteran of the group right now, so he's going to get the nod early. But I think that's the rotation. But I think I know we're probably going to talk about Ellis Robinson every single week on this show, especially if he's in the game, because that's a guy that Dan's buying stock in until he has to sell the stock, if he ever has to sell the stock, and rightfully so.
Yeah, my whole thing with the cornerback group is we've seen this now with a couple different turns at corner where early on the guy kind of gets crapped on a little bit, like, and then all of a sudden they come out of nowhere to be amazing. Like, I remember Dalen Everett got shit on a lot early on in his career. I mean, I think he's really good. Kamari Lassiter, early on was pretty good. I mean, he just, it's just, look at Keely Ringo, like, oh, this guy's supposed to be the best corner, and he was pretty damn good by the time he left. I mean, the Eagles think he's pretty good. It's just one of those things. And Kirby has talked about this, and their DB coaches have talked about this, that it's very difficult to play right away at corner at Georgia because they expect so much out of you. You have to know so many different things. Plus, you have the talented wide receivers, and playing wide receiver in college is probably one of the easier things to do in the world right now because the way the rules are structured, where you can't touch anybody, can't do anything. They want these high-scoring games. So I think it's tough, but with a guy like Ellis Robinson, I just hold out hope that talent wins out and that he shows up, and he's being well coached. That entire group is being well coached. That's the one thing about the secondary of Georgia that you can never say is that they're not going to be well coached. So I think he's going to be good. I want them all to be good. Damn it. I don't want us to give up anything in the air. So I hope they're all good. And there's probably scenarios where you see three corners on the field at the same time because teams are coming out five wide all the time. So it's kind of irrelevant. They're going to be out there.
Kobe, real quick, we'll go to the safeties and then we'll wrap up the depth chart section. This is what I got at safety. KJ Bolden, Ja'Cory Thomas, the first two on the field. After that, as it messes up, sorry, boys. After that, Maddox or Branch at both spots. I don't know. It's again, there might be a Kyron Jones in terms of one of these spots. Kyron Jones may be at star. I know he's been cross training there. Really, the only one you can put down a pin is KJ Bolden. Other than that, I think it's kind of going to be like the corner opposite Dalen Everett to start the year. I think you're going to see a rotation throughout the year until somebody emerges as the guy that we can't take off the field.
I agree. I mean, I think that obviously you went out and got Branch and Maddox out of the portal to eventually give you good depth, good experience, and potentially an impact player. Obviously, KJ is in pin, like you're saying. But again, I horse and just beating it to death. It's going to change so much in the next 2 weeks. They're going to put them in so many situations. That's what sometimes people don't understand is, there are times where coach calls a compromising defense to challenge you. Not necessarily to set you up for failure, but maybe you are all of a sudden on the island as a safety where in a big game he would never do that to you. But against Marshall today, he's going to kind of squeeze you, make you feel uncomfortable, make you think, hey, maybe I don't have all this figured out like I thought I did. And so, game reps, what's better than game reps? Nothing. So it'll just be interesting to see kind of how that defense handles it, especially in the rain this week. Could limit how much Marshall's throwing the ball.
All right. Well, before we wrap up in terms of our Georgia segment, I know I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Let's do some predictions in terms of what we see happening this weekend. Not in terms of score with Georgia and Marshall. I think that one's as easy as it is to predict Georgia to win. It's probably harder to pick the winning score. I guess I'll go first here. I think Georgia's going to end up with at least 250 yards on the ground this weekend. I think you've been hearing it all offseason, them talking about running the ball. I'd be shocked if they come out here and it's the reverse and it's 250 yards through the air and only 100 on the ground. I think Georgia's going to run the piss out of it, not because only they can, but because they want to put up as many yards as they can on the ground just to prove to themselves that they can do it.
Yeah, I think if I had to pick a number like that, I would say it's probably looking more at the 250-200 ratio, 250 through the air, 200 on the ground, roughly. I think that you're going to let Gunner throw the ball a good bit just to kind of get the arm loose, kind of get the timing down, kind of let him see the game slow down maybe right in front of his eyes. And if all goes well, you're going to play them into the third quarter, maybe one drive, and then you're going to jog out whoever your two quarterback is, and he's going to get one drive with the ones as well. And on that, I expect Bobo to call the full offense. We're still going to continue to throw the ball. We're still going to continue to run the offense, just like Gunner would be, injured or not in a game type situation. Pug's going to get an ability, and then he's not going to, throttle back the twos. I do think there will be a lot of running, a lot of, ground and pound trying to assert your dominance, but I do expect them to kind of throw everybody a cookie this week. And I mean, if you've put in, I always think about if you've put up with winter conditioning, winter workout, spring ball, summer conditioning, summer workouts, fall camp, these next 2 weeks are the time to kind of throw everybody that thank you cookie of here you go. We're going to let you get 10 snaps. We're going to throw the ball a time or two. We're going to try to score a couple times.
I know that Georgia has said, or Kirby has said, that he wants to run the ball. He wants to show that he can run the ball. But there is a faction of people that are a little bit concerned that Gunner can't throw the ball. So it's the teeter, right? So it's who wins? in this power show, like, do they get to show the world the gunner can throw the piss out the ball and that we have receivers all over the place? Or does Kirby win where he's going to show you that we have a bulldozer in the backfield and we're going to plow you? I think it's, I don't know. I'm stuck in neutral. Like, I can't gear up one way or the other because I don't know what they really want more. Do they want to show everybody that they have a bunch of shiny new toys and they can dial it up? I mean, I would love to see it. But at the same time, I've been waiting for somebody to run it down somebody's throat for a hot damn minute. So I've been waiting for my Todd Gurley 80-yard run. We haven't seen one of those in a long time. What's the longest run you could remember, recent memory? Was it Swift against Auburn? I mean,
longest run last season was that Trevor Etienne SEC championship. It was like a 40-yard run. That was the longest they had all year.
Run to the, like, you talking about to the house?
No.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm saying, like, are you saying, like, longest run I can remember? Because, like, James Cook's run to, like, kind of put the national championship out of reach
good
wasn't necessarily, like, I think he got tackled at, like, the 10 or something. But I mean, it was a one cut and just a foot race basically.
Yeah.
There was that 70-yarder from Zamir White in the 2020 Georgia-Florida game. But yeah, I mean, to Dan's point, it felt like since Swift's gone, the number of explosives, those just big explosive runs, has gone down. Like the big gainers. We're not talking about the 15, 20-yard explosive runs. We're talking like, hey, 60 yards to the house type runs.
I was going to say 80-yard bomb
runs.
Yeah, 80-yard bomb is cool, but dude, there's nothing more exciting in a football game when a running back breaks one like a house call. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm old school, but like when a running back takes off, and I know it gets you excited, Kobe. I already know. A big fat ass leading them around the corner, just knocking some corner out and just full back, just big old neck like this, just pop. But go ahead.
You can go back and watch the Oklahoma game my sophomore year. I mean, half that game is just handoff Sony Michel, 75 yards. Handoff Nick Chubb, 65 yards. I mean, it was just like every scoring drive we had there for a minute was just one handoff, and there we go.
It's exciting to me.
All right. Does Georgia have a run over 20 yards this weekend?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes. 100% yes.
All right. Does Georgia have a pass? Hold on. Let me write this down.
Wait. Hold on. Is it Cass Jones?
How about that? I was thinking it was going to be Gunner. I'm thinking there's going to be one run over 20 yards, Gunner Stockton.
All right. How about a pass over 40 yards? Not air yards, but just a completion over 40 yards.
Yes.
I think that's house money right there.
All right.
I wouldn't be surprised if it comes on a swing pass too.
Ooh. Dan breaking out. You know, Dan, and this isn't because he's one of those ones that crap on Bobo for the screens. It's because as Dan saw, as we both saw Friday night, Dan, nothing scares you more than a high school screen pass with some high school talent in terms of that ball getting tipped up in the air and it getting picked, especially when your son's the quarterback. Not to give you Vietnam flashbacks, Dan. But yeah, Dan to say a swing pass for 40 yards happening, that's getting him out of his shell. That's getting hot take for Dan.
Yeah, I'm not talking about a screen pass. I'm talking about swing to the running back out of the backfield.
Hell yeah. All right.
I can see Cash hitting that.
All right. I see you, Dan. I see you. All right. Georgia's a 39.5 point favorite this weekend. Does Georgia cover the spread?
Does Kirby like their head coach?
It's Tony Gibson, first-year head guy. Last year, it was a former Alabama guy, Charles Huff, but not anymore.
I would tell you that he's gonna turn the throttle on a little bit this week. I typically am not the kind of person that thinks we cover spreads that large, because typically he throttles it back, lets it be. But I have a feeling that if the offense is humming properly, I see that being no problem. Now, if we give up a cheap touchdown or two, all of a sudden they score 14 points, 17 points, obviously you're not going to cover that. But I'm looking at this game being a maybe Marshall scores 10.
Dan, if it helps you, they've been talking about wanting to make a good first impression this week. Georgia wants to leave an impression. I don't know if that helps you at all, but that's been the big emphasis.
Kirby is not Bobby Bowden. Bobby Bowden would, like in his games when he had an advantage, he would pour it on. Now, I would say Spurrier, but Spurrier did it to everybody. But Bobby Bowden was famous that he would just absolutely boat race teams. I think they scored like 80 points one time. I remember in the 90s, Bobby Bowden was like that. But Kirby's just not like that. The only time I remember him really being aggressive is when they were pissed off at Vanderbilt. Outside of that, I don't remember Georgia being super aggressive, but you said it's 30-something?
39.5.
Man, I see this game being like 42-10 or something.
Fair. I mean, yeah, that's where I would lean. All right, so Dan's gonna say no. Kobe's gonna say it. This doesn't count towards their pick record. This is just
because I'm flawless on that.
Yeah, Dan's kicking butt right now on that one. That's where we're going to next. All right, so we got our 3 props there for Georgia. Let's get in. We're doing 5 picks this weekend for week 1. I'm gonna go ahead. I put the picks on the notes with the record from last week. Little record update. Kobe, rough weekend for you. You were 1-2. Stanford and Kansas State did you down, but Kansas got you. Dan, flawless 3-0 start. Flawless. Hawaii, Kansas, and Iowa. Or Iowa State, sorry. Flawless start for Dan. Can he keep it up? Can he advance to 8-0? We're going to find out this weekend. Game numero uno. This is going to be a tough one because I can go either way on this one. This game's going down Friday night in Waco, Texas, wherever the heck Waco is in Texas. Auburn on the road at Baylor. Auburn's a 2.5-point favorite. Auburn has said they're probably going to play all 3 quarterbacks on Saturday. So if you ain't got one quarterback, or if you got more than one quarterback, you probably got none. Kobe, this is a get back week for you. I'm going to let you go first on this one. Where are you at on Auburn versus Baylor?
I am on the Dave Aranda and Baylor Bears train for this game. I think on the road at night, like you're saying, if you have all the quarterbacks, then what quarterback do you really have? I mean, I think it's love Juan, love Ashton Daniels. I really would have wished that he could have won that job outright, but I just worry that if Jackson Arnold has been as poor as maybe as advertised, and there hasn't been a swap at quarterback yet, I just don't know what you do. Like maybe Ashton goes in, has a good drive, but then all of a sudden you're jogging out Jackson Arnold next drive. What's it matter? You can't get a rhythm going. I don't think Auburn gets it done. I think that Freeze is in trouble if they start the year 0-1 as well.
All right, so Kobe has Baylor outright. They are plus 2.5. Dan, who do you got?
In honor of my buddy Brian Maloney, War Damn Eagle.
Ooh, Auburn. All right, Dan has Auburn with the points. All right, next one. We're gonna move to the weekend. We won't do another Friday night one, although we could do Georgia Tech, Colorado. We'll go to probably the game of the weekend. Texas travels to Columbus, Ohio, to take on the reigning national champions in Ohio State. Ohio State is favored by 1.5 in this game. This is big noon kickoff. Fox has decided to allow the world to watch it, even the YouTube TV subscribers. Everyone's going to be tuned into this one at noon. Kobe, you just went first for the last one. Dan, I'm going to make you go first here. Are you taking Texas as the dog? You taking Texas outright? Or are you sticking with Ryan Day in the bearded Buckeyes or the beard dye Buckeyes up there?
The reigning national champions don't lose at home. Give me Texas, baby.
Ooh. Texas. Okay.
This could be one of the storyline wise most intriguing first games that I can remember in recent memory. You have basically the quarterback recruit of the last 10 years that has sat in waiting for 2 seasons at Texas, possibly by incorrectly, honestly, almost. They're traveling to Ohio State. They just had a run, win a national championship. They're returning possibly the best receiver in college football, maybe the best receiver in college football in quite some time. My gut tells me elite teams, national contender teams do not lose at home. And I think that's why Ohio State's going to beat Texas.
All right, Kobe's taking the Buckeyes.
And don't forget, they have the best safety in the country, too.
Listen, I just think in a game where, God, it's just so tough because, Ohio State's going to have a guy that's never played meaningful snaps at all. And Arch has played limited meaningful snaps at quarterback. And I just think that being at home, I think it's going to be a defensive game. I mean, both of their strengths right this second going into the year are their defenses. And I don't know. That's why we're going to watch it, right? That's why we're all going to watch it on noon, So I think Ohio State takes care of business. Maybe it's really close. Maybe it's a lot lower scoring than people think as well.
All right, so we're split here too. All right, next up, another noon kick. Syracuse meets Tennessee in the Benz here in Atlanta. Tennessee's a 13.5-point favorite. Kobe, who do you got? You got Fran Brown or you got Josh Heupel?
This is one of those that I'm again a big unknown of. Fran Brown really caught fire with the transfer quarterback last year. He was beyond what I think Fran could have ever dreamed him being for them last year. And then on the flip side, Tennessee has lost their quarterback to the portal and now has scrambled to get what's going on. I would be really interested in knowing why the points were quite as wide as they are. Almost 2 touchdowns is a lot of points to be given up, but I think Tennessee just probably has the better roster top to bottom. But I just think that Fran Brown's been getting them fired up, so I think Syracuse is going to win this game.
Oh, dang.
Ooh. All right. So Kobe going with the dog. Dan, who you going with?
I mean, do I have to take the points?
You could take Syracuse plus the points, but not Syracuse outright.
I'm just gonna go with Tennessee.
Outright?
Yeah, I'm just gonna build this lead here.
That'd be fine. Nobody likes a traitor picking Tennessee.
Next up, Alabama goes to Doak Campbell Stadium. They are a 13.5-point favorite on the road.
I would like to start this. It is going to be a dog walking down in Doak. I mean, if there's ever a time that I would put on the crimson and let it ride, son, I hope it's 53-3 in Tallahassee on Saturday night. I mean, I hope it is a massacre. I hope Castellanos is running for his ever-loving life. You never poke the bear. You never preemptively poke the bear.
I hope it's so bad I get to see number 26 raising hell for Alabama, just tackling everybody. So, yeah, roll Tide. Kick the shit out of them.
Oh, I was really hoping we were going to get a Bama Dan right there. Really hoping we were going to get Bama Dan right there.
After a 2-10 season, I have zero faith that they have the capability, the coaching, the depth to be competitive, let alone win this football game.
You're coming from like a soft stand. I'm loving the misery that FSU's in after all that nonsense they started. So yeah, let's go. All right, next one.
All right, last one. LSU travels to Death Valley, the other Death Valley, Clemson, to take on the number 4 Clemson Tigers. Clemson's a 3.5-point favorite. You got Garrett Nussmeier versus Cade Klubnik. Who we taking, boys?
Tigers. What?
Not LSU. So fast, my friend. There we go.
LSU, baby.
LSU plus the points. All right. Kobe?
I get points. Hold on. Not minus. Yeah. You got it.
Do you play it safe? Do you go against Dan?
Do you tail Dan or do
you know what I'm saying? I feel like we've been having a good time. I feel like we've been having a good time, Dan, lately, kind of doing the back and forth, the banter. my gut's telling me that it matters for my man Dabo. He's been praying. He's been having some one-on-one moments. And listen, Brian Kelly has not won a game. Has not won a first, starting game since he's been at LSU. I just don't see him being ready for it. I don't see him being ready for the atmosphere. I think Clemson's going to get it done.
All right.
Well, so out of 5 games, we have one in common.
It's a tough weekend for the SEC this weekend. I think LSU drops a game, Tennessee drops a game, and Texas drops a game out the gate.
Dude. Here we go.
And Auburn. I picked against almost every SEC team.
Kobe's anti-SEC. You've heard it here first.
Here are the picks. Here's the picks for the boys. Disclaimer: Dan is 3-0. He's undefeated so far to start the year. Kobe is working under 500, hoping to get back over it. We will check back in with the records at the end of this weekend. I'm curious if Dan gets off to an 8-0 start, we might just have to retire this segment and just have to find another one to replace him to get Kobe some competition.
Dan, I feel like you need to lean some money on that. If you're feeling confident about the 8-0, little five-leg parlay for the evening.
Dude, we do parlays, but they don't ever listen to me anyway.
You're just out here putting out here for the ops to come find them.
Dude, I got one game wrong last year. Now listen, the one game I got wrong last year did cost us money because everybody else hit that weekend. But I was wrong one time last year out of how many weeks?
Tell them, Dan. Tell them.
And your boy Harris is over here picking damn over-unders like a degenerate. Like, he won't pick a game. I'm like, just tell me who's going to win the game.
Outright. I just want them. I want no points. I just want winners.
Harrison's like, oh, I got Bowling Green versus Wichita State. Give me the over. I'm like,
hell yeah. Points, baby, points. Points. That's how we do it over here on the Top Dawg Talk podcast. Gentlemen, I can't wait. Week 1 starts tomorrow, Thursday evening. ECU plays NC State. There's a crap ton of other games on tomorrow night. And then we got 5 straight days of college football. We will see you back here Sunday at 8:30 if the boys are in, live over here on the Top Dawg Talk podcast, live at 8:30. That will be 2 back-to-back hours for me of podcast. We'll be back here Sunday night, 7:30, with your post-game reaction to the weekend, 8:30. Then on Wednesday, we'll be back in our normal slot at 7:30. We appreciate you for being here. We'll see you next week.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.